The Westworld Season 2 trailer is here, and it tells us a lot about what will be happening in Season 2, so let's break it down. Hi everyone, this is Robert. Welcome to Deep Geek. This video is brought to you with the support of my brilliant Patreon community. Please do check out the link to my Patreon page if you're interested in joining up for some exclusive audio content. And do consider subscribing here if you enjoyed the video. If you've not seen the trailer yet, do go and do that first and then come back here. I've left a link in the description. And it should probably go without saying that there are spoilers here for Season 1 and Season 2. The first thing to note is that this trailer is confirmation that Season 2, like Season 1, will definitely be showing us events from at least 2, if not 3, different points in time. We will see the follow-up to the massacre at the end of Season 1, return to find out what happened next with young William and Logan 30 years ago, and possibly even further back to Arnold's first attempts to coax Dolores into full self-awareness. They won't be playing tricks with us with the timelines this time, but we'll still have to concentrate to keep up with what's going on when. And the other thing to note is that there is a lot packed into this trailer, and HBO have released a lot of other promo materials alongside this. I'll cover the main themes and important points in this video, and pick up the rest in a live stream in a day or two's time. But let's start with Dolores, and what happens next after the massacre. She seems to be spending her time and energy building a small posse who go around Westworld seeking out guests and board members, and stringing them up, killing them or taking them prisoner. Her team seems to include Teddy, Angela, who has a lovely new costume, and the mysterious masked figures who we saw first in the Super Bowl trailer. These are probably Wyatt cultists who Ford created in what appears to be yet another instance of his planning ahead. They were presumably made for this very purpose, to support Dolores in her uprising. Incidentally, you can tell which parts of the trailer Dolores is in this timeline by the ammo belt she has slung over her shoulder. She definitely didn't have that earlier in her life, which tells us that she goes to a library during this time, gets involved in a few gunfights, and meets both Bernard and Maeve. Now, the interesting thing about Dolores' story in this timeline is that although she is dead set on revenge for the decades of oppression from humans, and Angela and the cultists seem completely with her on this, some of the other key characters she meets don't seem to be completely on the same page. Teddy, for example, says to her that "We've ridden 10 miles and all we've seen is blood. Is this really what you want?" And Maeve says, "Revenge? It's just a different prayer at their altar, darling." In other words, indiscriminately killing humans is just how humans would do it, and they still have their hold over you. There must be another, better way. If Dolores doesn't soften her approach during the season, we will see her come into open conflict with other hosts. Not everyone wants to kill everyone else on the other side, or even see it as a black and white us and them struggle, as Dolores seems to, at least at the start of the season. Though, perhaps there is hope in her saying to Bernard that there is beauty in what we are. This is a clear echo of the phrase Dolores used repeatedly at the start of Season 1. Some people choose to see the ugliness in this world, the disarray. I choose to see the beauty. Is this a hint that we will see some of the old Dolores creeping back into her personality? Perhaps. We left Maeve last season heading back into Westworld, where she had wrought so much damage, on a new quest to find her daughter. There she meets Lee Sizemore, who was down underground because he had been trying to smuggle data out of Westworld using Peter Abernathy, but to no avail. Peter Abernathy, incidentally, isn't in this trailer, but he will be a very important character in the season. Anyway, Lee is probably lucky that he ran into Maeve on her way back in, not on her way out, because despite her rather violent methods, she doesn't seem here to be out to kill all humans. In fact, she's wanting to use Lee to find her daughter. Lee effectively tells her that her daughter is just a bit of programming, not a real person, This is, of course, true to an extent, and raises a whole series of quite philosophical questions that perhaps this season will start to explore. Maeve is obviously thinking of the host body that was her daughter, but presumably that has been reprogrammed to be someone else's daughter. And what if the original programming of her daughter has now been downloaded into a different young girl who has no memory of her? Who is she actually wanting to be reunited with? And whose mother is she? It's not straightforward. Anyway, Maeve clearly heads off on her search, taking Hector with her, having patched him up, which reminds us that it's all very well hosts being immortal, but they do still need access to the labs to repair themselves. And Maeve seems to visit Shogun World because we see her there dressed in a kimono. The shots of her with her daughter seem to be from last season, so we can't tell yet whether she is successful in her quest. The third of the plot-important hosts, Bernard, seems to have a lot going on this season. He starts off clearly in Delos's camp, apparently waking up by the shore, because they seem to be completely unaware that he is a host. Remember, he has been working there for years and nobody even once suspected that he was a host, so there's no reason for them to suddenly doubt him now. So he is brought along for the ride along with Stubbs, who has clearly escaped his predicament at the end of Season 1, as Delos try to retake control of the park. Now, Bernard, as always, seems to be doing a lot of thinking, and just a little bit of destroying. The exact timeline of events is quite hard to map out, but once Charlotte returns, she is now able to access the parts of the complex that Ford had previously kept a tight grip on, and she makes this discovery of a whole roomful of Bernard hosts, so his cover as a human is blown. We know from the previous trailer that he also discovers the drone hosts, if he didn't already know that they existed, and uses them to take out one of the technicians, so there's clearly something down there that he doesn't like. And he meets Dolores. So at some point he presumably switches sides, or perhaps switches sides is too strong. He's going to follow his own path this season, learning the truth about what's been going on. So that's the hosts. What about the humans? Well, returning to the aftermath of the massacre at the end of Season 1, Delos seemed to have called in some heavyweight security support, looking to reclaim Westworld by force. Here are what look like special forces arriving on a beach, presumably the one we've already seen with the bodies lying washed up on it. Incidentally, given that these landing craft appear to have been launched from a larger vessel that you can see further out to sea, this adds credence to the idea that Westworld is an island. Anyway, the security forces start their sweep of the park, including investigating the scene of the massacre itself. This will be their first priority, regaining control and rescuing any board members or guests stranded in the park. Here we see Charlotte Hale, for example, having been rescued or having made her own way out, and now taking charge of things once more. Which brings us to the man in black, William. Like last year, we will follow him at 2 different times in his life. We will pick up on his storyline with Logan, and the broad strokes of how this will play out are already clear. Logan will bear a grudge against William for what happened in the park, but in the battle of wits between the two of them, there will be only one winner. Here we see Logan looking disappointed as James Delos, the owner of Delos and possibly Logan's father, walks away from him. Perhaps this is when James Delos decides that William is the better bet to help take the company forward, not Logan. Logan, after all, sees the park as just something to have fun in, and that is not what Delos have been using it for all this time, so they obviously went in a different creative direction. So perhaps William is the one who came up with the idea for how to really use the park. There are quite a few snapshots from this timeline, but I think this one of Dolores staring out at the city skyline is actually from the even earlier timeline of Dolores and Arnold. But fast forward 30 years, we see the man in black talking to one of the hosts. He seems to have had a revelation, and now his quest for the maze is over, he's found a new goal. He admits that Delos, had something else in mind entirely for the park, and says that he is going to burn the whole thing to the ground. So this is what he will presumably be trying to do in Season 2, opposing Delos, just like Ford did before. There are, as always in these trailers, a lot of random shots that could fit in anywhere. We see more of the drone hosts, who are surely part of Delos's secret plans. We see the host child Ford lying injured on the side of a track with someone riding off. Is that the man in black searching for answers? Perhaps. We see more evidence that the Ghost Nation are going to play a bigger part this season. This seems to be one of them rescuing Logan 30 years ago. We see some presumably host soldiers seemingly on the defensive. We saw them in a previous trailer with people strung up, so perhaps Dolores has got them on her side and Delos are now closing in. We see the man in black holding a gun to his head. I honestly don't know why that's happening. And perhaps most curious of all, we see this red ball-like item being made. If you have any idea what that is, please do let me know in the comments below. The overall tagline the showrunners have been using for this trailer is "Chaos takes control," and that is very much what we see happening here. The clear lines of Season 1 are gone, and the controlling hand of Ford is gone. And in their place we have a confusion of activity. Dolores is rebelling, but her key allies seem to have reservations about her approach. Maeve is hunting for her daughter, but seems to be sidetracked by Shogun World and Dolores' war. The man in black is now turning on Delos, his own company, and Delos themselves are now forcibly trying to take on Dolores and launch the secret plan they've been developing for decades. And in the middle of all this, no one seems to know whose side Bernard is on. And to add even more mystery to this, the showrunners have also told us that Season 2 is unofficially called The Door. This will surely have many layers of meaning, but will there be a particularly important door? Perhaps this one that we see the man in black striding towards, knife in hand. What did you spot in the trailer that I didn't? Let me know in the comments below. When Season 2 is on, I'll be unpacking each episode as it comes in a full video, as well as live streams with other excellent creators and commentators, giving you the chance to ask any questions you have about the series. As I said, please do check out my Patreon page if you're interested in supporting me make more videos like this, or if you want access to more exclusive audio content. And don't forget to subscribe here if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. That's all for this time. I'll see you again soon.